Wanted to talk about the Cowboy Bebop live action, and I was planning to rewatch the entire series again from beginning to end and do another podcast about it. But, I watched the second episode, Venus Pops, last night, and I feel confident enough in my perspective that I can offer everything I already wanted to. The problem with, I guess recap, right? Cowboy Bebop. For me, one of the most inspirational shows I've ever watched in my life. Hands down. But also the best anime I've ever watched in my life. 26 episodes, characters who are struggled, who are deep, who are flawed, who are human, who are real, who are in pain, who are trying to do their best with what they have, what they can do, trying to escape their past, trying to redefine their past, trying to search for a better future. I've watched that anime in its entirety at least 10 times. I have 2 DVD box sets. One is the original DVD box set. The other one is a Blu-ray set. I used to have the movie Knocking on Heaven's Door, but that got stolen when my room was burglarized when I lived in Miami, and I just never repurchased it. We connected. If you're a fan, if you watch that anime, and if you love that anime, if that anime is a 10 out of 10, if that anime is perfect to you, there are no flaws, no setbacks, no limits in an anime. You understand and you see its perfection. And you understand art. You understand timepiece. You understand that it is a standalone project that can never be recreated. A live action is not a recreation of the animated version. You cannot recreate art. You cannot recreate inspiration. You cannot recreate Basquiat. You cannot recreate Warhol. You cannot recreate 444. You cannot recreate Jagged Little Pill, songs about Jane, Section 80, College Dropout. You can't. It's not possible. What you can do, what you should do, is grow. What you should be doing is growing as an individual and understanding that the perspectives that you originally gained from the shows, from the content, from art, they had a specific impact. They offered significance at a specific point in your life. I had my first panic attack after watching Cowboy Bebop. It's episode 26. Spike goes on his mission, man. You see Julia. You hear Julia for the first time. They meet up. He loses her. He loses the girl, right? He's been searching for her for God knows how long, right? For us, it's just 25 episodes. He finally finds the girl. The woman, rather. And he loses her in an instant. He has nothing left to live for. He goes out with a bang, right? Literal bang. Some people believe he didn't die. Some people believe he did die. I believe he did. I believe he died. When I watched that final scene, that bang, and then you see Spike on the floor, the picture rather zooms out, the finale music comes on. I think it's Blue. Free, wanna be free. Death is freedom. Fuck it, right? But I couldn't process that. I couldn't understand death as being freedom. I looked at, up to that point, I mean, not up to that point, for the majority of my life, I looked at death as a restraint. Death was the restraint, right? I've talked about Thanatophobia before, and that's just my lived experience, right? A child finds out his biological father is dead, right? The age of 6. I shouldn't have had to been aware of death at that level so early on in my life, but I was. The depression, the trauma, the lived experience, the Black experience, the nihilism, the misanthropy, the pessimism. What was it all for, right? I watched this man's story. I watched him live. I watched him live as a shell of himself, right? Because the goal was to get the woman of his dreams, I watched him live. And in the blink of an eye, I watched him die. By then, the team had split up. Ed, I believe, went to live on Earth with her father, or his father. Ed went to live on Earth with Ed's father. That's better. With Ein, Faye's searching for her history, and Jet alone. You know what he's used to. You feel like he appreciated having the camaraderie, having all these additional people on the ship. Because at the end of the day, right, it's Jet's ship. It's not Jet and Spike's ship. The Bebop is Jet's ship. He welcomed Spike onto his ship. He welcomed Faye onto the ship. And he welcomed Ein and Ed onto the ship. But the crew's broken apart. Their stories are over. Metaphorically, they're dead. The story's over. Spike is the only person who we actually get to experience his death and his liberation. But like I said, that wasn't my mindset. I watched it. And it was I don't even know at what point in time, I don't remember how many times I had watched Cowboy Bebop that night. But I watched it. I thought about what's next? What's next for everyone? What's next for anyone? And my mortality kicked in. The reality of mortality kicked in. The reality of finiteness kicked in. And I panicked. I struggled to breathe. My mother was in the next room. I couldn't. I had too much pride to yell and scream loud and all of that. Nah, this was my problem. So I had to deal with it on my own. In the shame, in the quiet of the dark night. The only thing that was on was the TV screen, man. The reality, the culmination of all the years of my experiences and the reality of understanding the finiteness and mortality of life hit me when I watched that final scene again. And I jumped out of bed. I sprung out of bed. I clutched my chest. My breathing was heavy, was labored. My eyes were open. And I just kept thinking, I'm going to die one day. And understanding what that meant, understanding non-existence. See, on one level, there's understanding that you're going to die one day, right? But then there's the elevated understanding of finiteness, of knowing and being aware, being consciously aware of non-existence and what that signifies. Excuse me. I grabbed the pillow. I bit into, like when Slim Jim commercials back in the day when Macho Man Randy Savage used to step into the Slim Jim. Oh yeah, and he bit into it. That's how I grabbed that pillow. I grabbed the pillow, and I chewed into it like I needed to release that frustration and anger. I had to. It had to go somewhere because I wasn't gonna vocalize that pain. I wasn't gonna vocalize the terror of that realization. I marched. I had a little small room, man. I don't even know how to describe it. It was a small room, and I just marched around, biting to the pillow, like squeezing it, trying to pull it apart, just like a rabid animal. And eventually, the panic subsided. I sat down on the edge of the bed, confused about what happened. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. My ego throughout all the years told me that I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'll figure it out. But reality said it. I wasn't all right. I wasn't all right. Cried a bit. And I went to bed. The next day I thought about it, but it was like, it was a fluke. It was like, that was just that one night. It's never going to happen again. Then it became the standard for my life. And this is maybe mid-20s, early 20s. I forget the exact year. I have to really think about it to get the exact year. It became my standard. I couldn't go to sleep at night until the panic attack subsided. I had permission. When I'd stay up. I had insomnia. I'd stay up every night up to 2, 3, 4 a.m. Usually it's going to bed right before my mother woke up. Sometimes my mother used to wake up for work at 4:15. And on the rough nights, the rough insomniac nights, she'd be awake, she'd get dressed, all of that. And she'd head out to work and I'd still be in the room watching TV. But every night, like clockwork, be watching TV, most likely Adult Swim. World was just quiet and it wasn't a peep. Just me alone with this screen. Night after night, the panic ensued. And night after night, I just grabbed into that pillow. Night after night, I transferred that energy elsewhere because it was all I could do. It was all I would allow myself to do. I would not show that level of weakness to anyone. I'm okay talking about it, but I would never display it. You call it foolish pride. That's how I operate. Because in the back of my mind, right, as rough and as low as things have gotten at times, I believe that I'll get better. I believe that I'll figure it out. Or I believed, rather, that I would figure it out. I was terrified of death. What did Cowboy Bebop do for you? What do the shows that what your favorite albums, your favorite TV shows, your favorite movies, what do they do for you? What have they done for you? What have they inspired in you for better and for worse? Those panic attacks were liberating. Like I said, I couldn't go to sleep until they happened. When it was over, I said, okay, I've done what I needed to do for the day. I've honored myself. That was the height of honoring my experience, honoring my life at that time. Those panic attacks were the height, because that's who I truly was. The truth of who I was at those points in my life, I was someone who was terrified of my finiteness, terrified of my mortality, terrified of death. I read the Harry Potter series a few times. I watched the movies, and I understood Voldemort's perspective. He was a coward, right? At the end of the day, his story is about being a coward. And throughout the years, the growth mindset, the self-healing, the confronting how I was honoring myself, confronting my truth, helped me to break free. I understand now that death is true freedom. I understand that now, and I'm proud and I'm happy about that. Cowboy Bebop was part of my liberation, part of the liberation from the limitations of my life experience. I didn't watch the live action hoping for new inspiration. I watched the live action to be entertained. That's what it's there for. As a fan, I understand that's what it's there for. So I watched the live action series the first time. The first 10 minutes of episode 1, Cowboy Gospel, I couldn't get into it, right? Because I was so hung up on the animated version, on the anime. That's what being a fanatic is. But what would be the point? What would be the point of recreating for word, feeling for feeling? So by episode, it just started getting better. Sad Clown Go-Go and Blue Crow Waltz. The complex story, I started seeing how good, how amazing. The title on this show, people would love it, people would eat it up. Show them this, give it a different name, no reference to the past. It's retro sci-fi. It has visually costume design, the set designs. I loved seeing the camaraderie and the brotherhood between. Anime is few words, right? Spike doesn't speak much in the anime. And you can't carry that on into the live action because you know about the mystery behind Spike. So you have to show Spike in a new light. And for me, what I end up seeing is that Vicious just has a weak, fragile ego. Something I realized last year while maybe I was rewatching the show or probably I was just in the Cowboy Bebop Reddit, was that Spike is Vicious's origin story. Spike, Julia, and Vicious work together in the anime. All three of them work together in the syndicate. Vicious and Julia were dating. Spike gets injured. Julia nurses him back to health, and they fall in love. Spike is grimy, right? The anime doesn't show us that side of the story. It doesn't condition us to see that side of the story. We see Spike as the hero, as the protagonist. All he wants is his woman. But we don't pause and think and realize, why wouldn't he be out for blood and live by a different bond? But Spike didn't live by that bond. Julia fell in love with him first. Even if she made the first gesture, you wouldn't have gone after your best friend's girl. It doesn't change anything in the anime for me. It doesn't change how I see Spike. But it's an important dynamic to consider. Stories we think about why people are the way they are. We think about choices and how life choices lead to life outcomes. The fearless thing, it's weird. I don't get it. But it is like I can overlook it because it's not a big deal. Vicious has a fragile ego, man. He has a fragile ego. He lost his lady to his best friend. Who wouldn't, right? If that close level of betrayal exists, why wouldn't you not trust anyone? Why wouldn't it be fuck everyone? Why wouldn't you be out for self? It's a natural reaction. I like Faye's character. I don't like her dialogue. I don't like when female characters curse to make them seem tougher or more badass. It's lazy writing. Actions speak louder than words, right? The imagery, the scenery, one of the initial things that took me out of space of enjoying the live action was just the overkill on music. Like I understood that they wanted to incorporate the seatbelt and Yoko Kanno's performances and songs, but every scene had music. Like I get it, but it felt forced. It felt like it was too much. So I think about that, so I did a first watch, and towards the end I really started appreciating it. I rewatched episode 1 and 2 these past 2-3 nights. And it feels like this was set up to fail. It feels like it was set up to fail. Because if there was a belief that season 2 would be coming out, there wouldn't be a need to force all of the original soundtrack into these 10 episodes. It feels like it was set to fail. That's my belief. You go through all the episodes, the last scene in the episode is Spike finding Ed. Why wouldn't I want to see that story develop? Why wouldn't I want to see this new, mature, more lighthearted Spike interacting with a young Ed who's already as goofy and fun on Ed's own? I want to see that. I want to see that story. I want to see the story evolve. Look at the reviews on IMDb. IMDb, the average user review is 6.7 out of 10. And my feeling / my realization is just the arrogance of our culture, the arrogance of modern time. Faux fan, right? Not being pleased that it isn't exactly what you wanted it to be. So it's a bad show. We think we understand art in this generation. Well, we don't. Most people aren't artists. Most people aren't artists. Most people don't understand art. Most people just consume art. Art isn't meant to be consumed. Art is meant to inspire. Art is meant to draw something out of you. You look at the different forms of media in art, right? You have a TV show, you have a music album, you have a movie. Sometimes you don't get it the first time. And sometimes you don't get it because you came there with preconceived notions and ideas of what it should be, right? That's what happens when we listen to new albums by artists and they don't sound like the previous album and we get mad. Oh, I missed the old Kanye, right? If you missed the old Kanye, go listen to the old Kanye. Kanye has grown. Kanye has evolved. So this is new content. This is evolution. Why would I still be in that same mindset from 3-4 years ago? If that's what makes you happy, that means that I'm in the same boat as you. That means you haven't grown, and that means neither have I. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm moving forward. I'm evolving. Sounds evolve, thoughts evolve, inspiration evolves. But you still on that old shit. Good luck with that. The culture is arrogance. The culture is consuming. We consume so much art, right? We consume so much faux art. Or we think we're consuming art. For the most part, I don't even think we consider the things we consider the things the media rather we consume as art. TikTok is meant to be art. Instagram is meant to be art. These mediums of self-expression, they're meant to be art. They're meant to be a way to inspire. But the culture is more focused on 10 seconds of laughter. Erica just showed me something about people cooking chicken and NyQuil and that going viral. That's the culture. That's the culture. Back in the day, I use this word lightly and respectfully. Stupidity used to get ignored, right? Anything that wasn't inspiring, anything that wasn't like really pushing the experience, the human experience, the cultural experience forward, no one gave a fuck about it. But now it's the other way around. The content that people are creating to inspire, to push the experience forward, that's what's getting ignored. While the bullshit that just feeds people's ego in the moment, that's what we're consuming in mass. Childish Gambino once said, you're not excited about Drake's album dropping so you can listen to it and understand his experiences. You just listen to it to acknowledge that you listened to it. One of my old professors from college said, we want everything yesterday. And you think about the rise of media, especially with the internet. Think about bloggers. You think about people who review albums. I'm thinking about Siskel and Ebert, right? They were experts. In movie reviews. So they can watch a movie one time and understand the nuances, the layers, what worked, what didn't work. This dude, your movie sucks on YouTube. He is an expert in understanding movie reviews. And when he offers reviews, it is because he has consumed so many different movies and he is a part of a community, that offers insight and understanding in what works and what doesn't work for media. But nowadays, the culture is, I need to listen to this one time and review it and post about it immediately because I have to be the first person to do it so that I can get the most traction. I don't have any experience in this. I don't have any expertise in it. I just listened. And since I listened, I have authority. I listened, I felt I have authority, therefore I think I do have authority, and therefore what I feel is right? We are in a culture of feelings being the standard for social culture. And as consumers, we think, because I consume so much, because I listen to all these songs, I listen to all these, I watch all these TV shows, I watch all these movies, I'm an expert. Arrogance, right? Arrogance is that I'm an expert now and I know what works and what doesn't work. And this isn't what I thought it would be, so it must be trash. It must be bad. That's the culture. Again, step out of your all-knowingness. Step out of your feelings. Just watch it for what it is. I'm caping for this show. I'm caping for this show because I wanted more. I want to explore more. This show deserves to be explored more. The ending with Julia becoming evil and Vicious cowering on his knees, that was terrible. That was terrible. And and maybe that's part of it, right? Like sometimes it feels like I said, some of it feels like a setup, right? Like all the forced music. Sometimes it feels like a setup. Seeing those last scenes, and it was like the next season is gonna be like Julia and Spike, like a romance of Spike trying to win Julia's heart back. It feels lazy. It feels nonsensical, and maybe those final scenes is what made it like, yo, we can't do nothing with this. We can't. Who made that decision? But also, who am I, right? Who am I? Creator Christopher L. Yost. He only wrote one episode. I don't know. Well, he developed the entire series though, but I don't know. So my main perspective, my main point is to give art a chance. Give art a true chance. Understand that the culture and times that we are in do not allow us to be innately inspired by art on the first go. It takes time. And it's reflective of our culture, the zero tolerance culture, where if I see it and I don't like it, it's bad and that's it. No growth mindset, right? If you don't have the ability to see growth in media and content, artists and art, then how can you see growth within yourself? And I think that's the real realization, the real challenge, and the true perspective. If I can't change, how can you? And if I don't want you to change, most likely I don't want myself to change. That's a sad thing.